What's going on, everyone? Welcome to BRAP. It's Friday. A little bit later BRAP tonight. Had a previous engagement, but you got a returning guest. Although it's been a while. It's been a while. Got J Dub back. J Dub, what's going on, man?
What is up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? Can't complain, man. Can't complain. Especially when it comes to gaming. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
all these
I
great
hear you, man.
games been releasing. You know what I'm saying?
This has been a pretty good year, I think, with games.
Dude, it's been a spectacular year with games. Sometimes I see people saying, "Oh, this is the worst generation ever." I'm like, dude, this is one of the best generations ever in history. Now, granted, if you had Xbox gamer is probably one of the worst, but I mean, I'm gonna keep it a bean. As a PlayStation centric gamer, this generation has been fantastic, man. And it's just gonna keep getting better and better.
Yeah, no, it's been like I look at this year, and I'm just like, there's been a lot of good stuff coming out. Like this
Hmm.
past, like I just take a little bit of slice like of the year for, like let's say I'm just looking at the spring, right? April,
Hmm.
May. Um, like I have Game Pass, so for me, Game Pass has been, I've got 3 Game Pass. I've had
You got
Player
PC Game Pass,
Expedition.
right? Yeah, you got
Uh,
PC Game Pass, right?
well, yeah, well, I have Game Pass Ultimate, Ultimate, so
Okay. Okay.
that's that way the kids can play on Xbox too. Like if they want, I don't want them touching the
Hmm.
PC if I don't have to.
Yeah.
But no, I actually, yeah. So for Game Pass at least, like for me, it's Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which
Hmm.
I'm still playing, which is a
Me
phenomenal
too.
game. Like it's for me, like that game, and we talked about this game a lot on the show. That game for me is probably going to be like probably game of the year,
Hmm. Okay.
and it's have you played it, JDub?
Yeah, yeah, I played it. I've been playing it.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be in conversation for game of the year. Just I, it's I think right now it's the highest rated Metacritic game of the year so far. But
Mm.
so and then there's Doom coming out this month as well.
Yeah.
Um, Doom: The Dark Ages, and so
Yeah.
like I'm like this year's been great.
Yeah.
And that's just a small sample size of just 3 games, but or
Yeah.
2 games, but there's been other stuff that's come out this year that's been really good, and I just I think that started, and I thought last year was a pretty good year too. I mean, we had Astrobot 2 towards the tail end, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Final Fantasy
Um,
7, Rebirth. We had what else we had? Man, we had quite a few.
Elden Ring
Uh
DLC.
Elden Ring DLC, that came out last year.
Mhm.
Um it was so many games that was in contention. I can't even think of them. It's just so many games. I'm kind of overwhelmed right now with a bunch of games that I got on my rotation list, and then that doesn't include like the Forza Horizon 5, the Age of Mythology, the Age of Empires that I picked up. Um, what else? Obviously the obscure game. Um, a new one. Is it Midnight Walk or something like that? I picked that up last night. You're able to play in VR or standard, so I recommend you guys picking that up. Um, Then we got a lot. Then we got just a lot of games to come. A lot of big games. It's just crazy. We got Death Stranding 2 next month.
Yeah,
Um, you
that's
know,
right. Do you see some of the
yeah,
new gameplay
yeah,
trailers, videos?
glowing previews. Just glowing previews. Um, it looks like Kojima gave them like 30 hours to play, and dude, everybody's like just going gaga for that game. And it was running on the PS5, so imagine how much better it's gonna look and run on the PS5 Pro. looking forward to that. We got Ghost of Yotai. I'm actually excited for the
Borderlands
summer.
4.
Borderlands 4. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but we have a couple of weeks before the game summer games. I'm looking forward to
That's right. Yeah.
that time, seeing what else is coming. Jeff Keighley show. I think Microsoft is probably going to have something. Sony may have, a state of play or showcase, something like that. I'm hearing Nintendo's console launch with its games and stuff. Dude, it's an exciting time to be a gamer. I don't see what somebody would be upset about or lacking in gaming. It's a huge variety of games. Um, you brought up the Expedition 33, which is I think is a great game. A lot of people are giving it glowing reviews, and this is one of the first turn-based RPGs where gamers are taking a light to it, and so kudos to that studio. Usually turn-based games are typically reserved for the PC market as far as how many people that really care about it. And this is the first game on console where it seems like a lot of people care. Glowing reviews. So kudos to that. Kudos to them. Like you said, we have Doom coming out pretty soon. It's just a lot of games, man. Fun times.
Yeah, it was I was like some people like other people. Um I was kind of like I was disappointed in GTA 6 being delayed, but then I was like, you know what? Like that's actually not a bad thing per se
Hmm.
because there's just so much stuff that I want to play.
Yeah.
Um like I do want to get back to South of Midnight, which I was playing. But
Hmm.
like I mean, there's going to be stuff like Ghost of Yote comes out, Death Stranding
Yeah.
2, and Death Stranding
Yeah.
2 looks incredible.
Big games. Those are big, big games, man.
I tell you, Death Stranding was one of my favorite games last gen.
Well, I was beat up last gen for Death Stranding 2. But I said it was in my top five best games ever that I've ever played in my life. And I told people it's not for everybody. Not everyone has the attention span. Not everybody has the time to give it time and get into the story. And that's totally fine. But for me, it was what I wanted and it's what I liked. I've beat the game like 5 times. I'm definitely into it. So part two, I can't wait. Obviously getting the collector's edition and stuff like that. Listen, if you look at Kojima's history, man, he's kind of never made a game. I believe that's like lower than a 87 Metacritic. All his games are like high rated. Whether I'm not saying you would like them or not, because that's all up to the gamer, but that tells you about this guy's longevity and this guy, finding his path and being able to commit and to execute. So, kudos to Kojima, man. Hopefully, he'll be with us a long time and keep making more and more games.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. Like I think about Death Stranding, and I remember like in the beginning, I was kind of like, I'm not, I don't know.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
you start playing it, and I remember like people were turning off, like, oh, it's a walking sim, but actually, it's more than a walking sim
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when you throw in the BTS and that kind of
Hmm.
those elements of a like horror psychological thriller,
Yeah.
when the oh my god, and when the baby starts freaking out because the BTS are
Oh yeah.
close,
Yeah.
and your little thing starts like beeping fast, and then you hear the eerie music,
Yeah.
like I can't think of anyone that does that better than Kojima.
Yeah.
Like setting that mood with just like audio, the
Hmm.
visuals, and I just remember that I'm like, and then when you start meeting all these characters, like I mean, a diehard man probably is one of the
Hmm.
best, like at the end of the towards the latter part of that
Oh,
game,
oh,
end of the game,
absolutely.
when he's like, I guess I could probably spoil it because it's been many
Yeah, it's
years,
been
but
years now.
Um, but he's got that scene where Sam confronts him and he's like crying.
Yeah, he starts crying and
He gets a
explaining and everything. Yeah,
yeah. He's almost like what's interesting about his character. He's like he almost hates the fact that he's lived,
yeah,
that he hasn't died. You know, he's like, yeah, I should have died a long time ago.
yeah,
Hence the name Die Hard Man. But there's like it's almost like this level. He's got this shame to it. Like he feels
hmm
shameful that he's and he's clearly carrying a lot of this emotional burden baggage from that. But that scene was just like I was like, wow, it was so emotionally impactful.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can't wait for the second one. Like I'm it's
Well,
gonna be I think it's gonna be a great game. Yeah.
what I found out is just the people didn't care for the game. It's a lot of it's because they didn't invest the time that it takes. And yeah, it's you're not gonna, some people they want action from A to Z, and this game builds up. It kind of builds up what's going on, and it tries to get you to understand what's going on before it breaks out the action. But there's plenty of action. Yes, there's guns, there's weapons, there's all kind of stuff in the game. But most of the naysayers, they already had a preconceived notion about the game prior to the game coming out. Oh, you're delivering packages. I don't care. It's boring, right? And then it's crazy because you find out, all of a sudden that game drops on Xbox, and all of a sudden it's, oh my God, this game is the best game in the world. I love it. It's amazing. But it's like, and these are some of the guys that, man, they tore me up talking how bad the game was and it was boring and all kind of stuff. And they ended up becoming big fans of the game. They gave it some time. You put the time in. There was this one scene, and BRAP, you know the scene, but in the beginning of the game, when you put in a couple of hours, and this just you come over that mountain and you start walking down the mountain, the music kicks in, and it's just so surreal. It's just so emotional. It grabs you, and it's like, oh my God, I'm in for a huge treat with this game. And then, once you do that, then you start unlocking vehicles and some of your weapons and stuff. And before you know it, the game opens up the way that it needed to open up. But some people just didn't, you know. And somebody said it, they were like, well, I shouldn't have to put in 2 or 3 hours to get whatever to make this game interesting. And it's like I totally understand. I totally agree that this game it may not be for you. So like, again, some people don't have that attention span. Some people don't like they like, it's like when you go to the movies, they want a movie that's action from A to Z. If there's any slow spots in there, any dialogue, they don't care. They'll call it boring. And to each his own. But all I can say is this game was for me. It's like it was made exclusively for me, and I enjoyed it, every bit of it.
Well, I mean, it's definitely like you said, to each his own. I mean, it's probably not a game for everyone, but it's definitely more than just a walking sim. Um,
Yeah.
and there's just and some of the battles and there's stealth elements there. Like there's clearly like there's elements in that game that remind me of Metal Gear a little bit.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
but it's got that Kojima,
Hmm.
I don't know, like that it's you could tell it's his game. I mean, I can't
Yep.
think of anyone who makes a game like he does.
Nobody could make the game.
I mean, just the characters, the voice acting, the script, the the world. I mean,
The
it's
cat,
just
the casting.
yeah, the casting. Yeah, I will say the funny thing about that particular game was the having the Monster Energy drinks there, the
Yeah.
product placement in the game.
Yeah. 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 And you wonder how did Sony pull that off? But then you go and look at some of their other games that, and like for example, Intergalactic, all the product placement in that game right? From
Would
Adidas to Porsche.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of product placement. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another game I'm really looking forward to, by the way, J Dub. That is
yeah. And a Galactic. That's gonna be it's gonna be bananas.
let
And
me J Dub, are you watching, speaking of like Naughty Dog, are you watching The Last of Us season 2 on HBO Max?
I am religiously.
What do you think so far? Because I've seen some people on the internet like poo poo it.
Mhm.
But what do you think so far? Minus any spoilers, but what do you think?
Dude, it's been great so far. I've been rating them 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, depending on the episodes. Um, Again, it's kind of hard for me to, because I don't want to knock someone's opinion, because you're entitled to feel how you feel, but we know why some people are saying what they're saying, right? We know it's because they don't like the actor Ellie, or they don't like Neil Druckmann because of different political reasons. It's all the bullshit. But when it comes to acting, story, dialogue, it's all top shelf. And some people, they're still salty that, you know without, I guess, spoiling anything. I don't want to spoil anything, but you know what happened to Joel. They're still salty about that. And so they're like, oh, I can't stand Naughty Dog, and The Last of Us 2 is trash, and blah blah blah. And it's like,
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
look, I get it with the Joel thing. Like I totally get it, but like I wasn't a fan of that, but then I was like, as I was playing it, I'm like, and then I started thinking like, okay, like this is how complex this world is, right? I mean,
mhm.
you're living in a post-apocalyptic world,
Yep,
and yeah, like this shit's probably gonna happen like that, right?
yep,
And Joel wasn't. I mean, I think we all connected with Joel because clearly, I mean, he lost his daughter, right? So I mean,
yep.
yeah, you connect with them.
Everybody
And then
loves
he,
a great feel good story, right?
yeah, everyone loves a feel good story. It's like, oh God, he lost his daughter, but then he's got a chance here at kind of assuming that father, that parental figure with Ellie, and
Hmm.
and by the way, it's spoiler here for those who haven't played the video game. I'll give you like 5 seconds here to turn this
Mute.
off, but
We'll turn it
mute,
off.
yeah. But I mean, like, but then that rug's pulled up from under you, but again, it's kind of like like I look at that world like it's just pure chaos, right? But
Yeah.
he goes in there, he kills someone's father. He goes in, he takes something. It's almost it's a little bit of role reverse. It's a reverse situation where in his case, his daughter was taken away, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
in Abby's case, Joel took away her father.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's having these people who you have these deep emotional bonds with taken away from you.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what, and obviously, Joel losing Ellie. And what I think is great about the show is you see kind of like a little bit more background, the aftermath of that, right? In the show,
Hmm.
what Joel ended up becoming and his motivation as a character. And even like, I think season 2, like I know you said you're giving 9s or 10s. I love that they were able to explore more of that emotion, right? Emotional
Yeah.
depth because they can do that on TV. You can really, I mean, it's
It's
different
kind of
from
hard to
playing a
do that
real
in the
action game.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. But that scene, man, and we all
Uh,
knew it was coming, J Dub,
yeah.
right? We all knew it was
Yeah. We
coming.
all knew.
Did you feel like, even though you knew it was coming, was it still like a punch in the gut for you?
It wasn't. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm Team Abby. Right? The first game was about love. Right? It was about the redemption of a man and that lost his daughter. He was able to take some cargo and eventually bond with that cargo. And now he has a semi adopted daughter. Right? And then they drive into the sunset. That's how the first game ended. Well, that's not how this game here starts. And this is damn sure not how this game ends. And I think, for a lot of people, that's the problem they're gonna have with it. This game, they want it to be a feel good. Oh, but I love Joel and Ellie and that father figure and stuff like that. Well, now, you find out, I mean, pretty much Joel wasn't a good guy. Him and Tommy wasn't a good guy. Tess wasn't a good guy. They did some bad shit. That's all they did for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And
They were,
yeah, and
no, I
so
mean,
you
you're
did
right.
the first game, we got the good side of Joel, right? They didn't go in debt and explain all the stuff. We got the good side, but we don't, in part two, they kind of, which I think they should have went into a little bit more detail, but I guess it didn't matter at the end of it. But throughout the course of the part two, you find out a little bit more about who Joel and Tommy was, little by little, and you go from there. So, eventually, everybody has to pay the piper. And the bigger dilemma is, BRAP, if you have a chance to save the world and you make a choice to not save the world based on your own personal selfish reasons, you kind of have to think about that too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because for his selfish reasons, and what does
Hmm.
that say about Joel as a character?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I love about the show is they explore that emotional burden that Joel's carrying with him.
Coming around. Yep.
That he did this. That he's got
Yep.
all that weight, like, and he's seeing like, damn, like if I would have done this, if I would have just, you
Hmm.
know, but he wasn't over the loss of his daughter, and he had that connection with Ellie, like
Yeah.
as a daughter, and he I don't think he as a character he's probably like, I can't stomach that pain again to lose another daughter.
Let's face it. I mean, it's post-apocalypse. They all have freaking PTSD.
Yeah, that's a great point. They've all suffered a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And through the journey of The Last of Us 2, I mean, you get to see the PTSD that Ellie has. I mean, it's extreme. She's mental. She's extremely, like, she's hell bent. She had an opportunity to live her life happily ever after, and she chose not to. She chose revenge. She chose hate. Again, the first game was about love, and the second is about hate. And I think that's the genius behind The Last of Us 2, is the fact that they can take our emotions that we had for the characters in the first game and turn them totally upside down. I mean, I really hated Abby. I really hate her for what she did because it was such a shocker when I first played The Last of Us 2. Um, and through the course of the game, once the story unravels and you get to learn out why she did what she did, and it's like it became very logical. You not only killed my dad, but you basically doomed humanity. There's a potential cure for this stuff. And I know some people say, well, I would have did it. I would have did the same thing what Joel did and blah blah blah. But I mean, think about it. That's not Joel's daughter. Joel had only been knowing Abby for so long. She was cargo. He he made his decisions based on his personal reasons, selfish reasons. So I mean, there's that side of it. So, but it's excellent writing. It's excellent writing, and I like the fact that they kept Neil Druckmann in charge of this to make sure that all of the stuff from the game, the emotions and the stuff that he was trying to portray, carried over to the TV show. And I know some guys will say, "Oh, but Ellie doesn't look like." I mean, Ellie doesn't look like the chick doesn't look like Ellie, and are they making all these memes and stuff? It's just dumb stuff. That lady she's a great actor. She played in the Game of Thrones. Um, sure, you could have casted someone else that looked more like Abby, but I mean, looked more like Ellie. But guess what? You probably wouldn't have got the same result. I'm glad they made the decisions that they did, and I'm not doubting them anymore because I mean it's been panning out. Each episode has been getting extremely high ratings. So at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I don't know what the ratings have been for the show, but
They've all been in
um,
the high 90s.
okay. I
Yeah.
just what I do know is that hey J Dub, did truck rims go up in price? By the way,
Yes.
did this just happen?
Probably about a month and a half ago.
Hold on a sec here, man.
Yeah,
I'm
about a
sorry, I
month
just
and a
went off
half
the
ago.
rails here, and I only asked the question because we're both truck owners,
Yeah,
so
we're both truckers.
I get emails. One sec
Right.
here.
I was looking for them new wheels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm damn 504. I'm looking at fuels right now.
Mhm.
These used to be 400 and something dollars. Now they're 500.
Yeah, I think it's like a 40 to 50% increase.
Is this a result of fucking tariffs?
Of course.
Oh my god.
Of course.
Let me see. Now I'm totally derailing the show now.
Now here's the thing. I know you want some different wheels, but you're gonna have to just wait. You're gonna have to wait and hopefully he repeals some of the tariffs and stuff like that. So prices will go back down. Because you're gonna be slapping yourself if you go and buy something now, in 6 months' time, you
Damn,
look at the prices
500
again.
$500. Dude, like literally these hold on a sec here, man. Hold on. Hold on a sec here. Right now I have my OEM rims. They're chrome.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get Game Logic in here real quick.
Okay.
So I'm looking. I like I've had my eye on fuels. Um,
Mm-hmm.
damn, I just went down this rabbit hole, Jada, because now what's up, Logic?
That's right. You have the HD 2500 or something like that, the Silverado.
Yeah, I have the HE 2500. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
2022. It's got like 30,000 miles on it now. I just
Okay.
uh
Okay.
I just put new tires on it. Um,
Okay.
it came down for me. It came down to the KO3s and the Ridge Grapplers, the Nitto
Yeah.
Ridge Grapplers, and I went with the Ridge Grapplers. Um,
I have the KO2s.
yep.
Yep.
So, but back to that show, Jada. Like I love that they've been able to explore kind of like that scene right with Joel. Like
Hmm.
that. I know you said it wasn't a punch in the gut because you're Team Abby, but I was like, it was a punch in the gut for me because even though I knew what was going to happen, I'm like, oh shit, like that is
Yeah.
like just the brutality of it, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
It's seeing it like as opposed seeing like I guess that seeing it like in real life, it's not real life obviously, but just seeing humans
Hmm.
um it's to see humans actually act that scene out. Like
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
it hit different for me.
Yeah.
But I love the show. I just like Neil's talked about like the show's allowed him to explore different um characters, scenes differently than he would than he had the opportunity to do so in the game because the game there's only a finite amount of time and again like you said it's different. He talked about it's different when you're playing a video game than you're doing a television show.
It's like It's like when you read a book. Of course, the book is going to be more detailed because you have more time to lay everything out.
Yeah, but anyhow, that's the enough about the Last of Us. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyhow,
Yeah. Every Sunday I'm there though. Every Sunday,
oh, me too, man. Me
8
too.
8 p.m. I'm
What is going on here? Oh, hold on here. I've just gone down this rabbit hole. 2,500.
Yeah, you might want to hang it up, man, for now.
Oh my god. Now I'm like, I should have pulled the trigger.
Well, you didn't know it was going to end up like that.
I mean, I know I didn't even think about where wheels were manufactured.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
All right, let me see something here. Hold on a sec here. Oh, okay. They're the same. Never mind. I guess the site that I was going to.
Okay.
All right, that's weird. The site I went to was like $100 more, and that could be maybe I don't know. Logic. Sorry, man. You walked into a wheel conversation between two truck owners.
Yeah,
And,
along with a discussion of the Tlu TV show, two of my two topics I find to be the most exciting.
and let me just say something. I hate the Apple iPhone, by the way. Let me just.
That's a you problem.
Yeah, he's an
I
Android
can't.
guy. Oh,
I can't.
boo.
I can't.
The
I
market.
can't tell you how,
Look, the market has
Whoa.
spoken. The market has spoken, and that is a you
market-
problem.
the market is wrong. Hey, and who asked for the iPhone? That's what I want to know. Who asked for this?
Who asked for this?
No, but here's the thing. If it was the iPhone, I have the 16. If it was a 16 like Pro Max or whatever, I probably wouldn't have an issue. But my work gave me a iPhone for work, and it's a small iPhone. It's like the iPhone of old that I had like 13 years ago, and I keep dropping it. I'm fumbling it. I misplace it.
Oh, so it's not even the 16.
It's the
It's just a small. It's not the Pro Max. It's not the Pro
It's
Max.
not the Pro Max. It's
he wants the larger size.
Yeah. He's got the base iPhone, but are you also saying it's not even the 16? So it's the small one, but it's not even the most recent model.
I don't know. It might be the recent model. Does the 16 have a real small one? I don't know. I'm not an Apple person. So.
Yeah. The Pro comes in two models.
Okay, let me just say so. I have the very small one.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah,
if I'm like put it this way, J-Dub, you have a truck, right? You have a Ford F-150 Raptor.
Yeah.
Okay, and my phone is the F-150 with just not even the crew cab.
Oh man, yeah.
And not even like the
he got the Ranger. He got the Ranger.
but I got the entry level. level. Like I don't even have a backup camera.
Hey, so tell me this: how many lenses does your phone have on the back of it?
I don't two. Maybe one.
No, you don't have it there with you.
Maybe it's an SC
I think it has two. I think it has two lenses. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's on the base iPhone. He's not
on the base iPhone. It sucks. And let me tell you something. And now I'm starting to gotta be careful here. I have some concerns about this phone because I'm getting random text messages, right? And I'm not the only one that this is happening to. I've talked to several of my colleagues. They're like, yeah, we get like these random text messages that have nothing to do with us. I got one today saying that your PlayStation purchase is rejected because you don't have enough cash in your PlayStation account. First of all, that number is not even associated to my PlayStation account. I just activated the phone today. I just activated this iPhone today. I got this message.
Well, it could be worse, BRAP. They could have told you that your Xbox account needed more money added to it.
I mean, I don't know. It's just so random. Like, and it's happening to my colleagues too. So I'm like, Like, is this someone's like old burner phone? Did it
Yeah,
not,
what it
did
sounds
it
like,
wipe these clean?
and I'm being conspiracy theorist, but
Carrier.
what it sounds like is your company got a block of numbers, and that block of numbers has at some point in the past, or maybe just recently, once your company obtained them, got compromised, and it's
The numbers,
is out, not necessarily on the dark web, right? But it's in the hands of people who know that they're your company phones and are doing phishing attacks or whatever on that number block.
Yep.
Bruh, that is what I'm thinking. Like, that's why I was like, I want to be careful, because I don't want to be, if someone figures out where I work, oh, BRAP was on there criticizing our security team or cyber team and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I will say this, it is concerning, because I'm not the only one this is happening to. It's happened to my other colleagues are saying, yeah, we're getting these weird text messages.
But the point being is that is not an iPhone problem. That is a your company problem.
Well, actually,
a carrier problem. Actually,
let me just say something, Game Logic. I don't have that problem on my Android. I'm just saying.
Oh
man. I was going back, but I will say this though: the design of the phone, it's a great, even though it's small, like, and I feel like it's for like something my kids would use. Like, it's a nice looking phone.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you had the right phone, the right iPhone, the one that kind of fits you, maybe your opinion would be a little bit different. But I totally get it. Phone's too small, and then on top of that, you getting freaking random texts. Yeah, that would piss you off. That would piss me off too.
You're also not living in the Apple ecosystem, so you're not getting the most ROI from the value prop of that phone. But that again is also a you problem.
I mean, look, I'm just gonna move on. I'm gonna move on here. I don't know. You're right, and I'm not in the ecosystem.
You brought it up, and you knew you were gonna get smoke.
Yeah. Speaking of smoke, Logic, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat here, sir. I'll put you on the hot seat here.
Uh-oh.
So what's going on here, Logic?
Oh wow!
I told you I was going to put you in the hot seat, because I mean, look, in Logic, you can either choose to get off the hot seat. We don't have to talk about this now, but I do think there's actually.
I don't shirk from anything that I've written.
I know.
So this is a post I wrote today. So I was listening to the most recent episode of Podcast Unlocked, because I had really hit one of my low points, right, with my my impression of the games media a couple of weeks ago. But I kind of reverse track and decided that I needed to listen to people. Let me just be blunt. I needed to listen to people doing not great content, just so I was aware of all the things that we needed to debunk here on the Truth Network. So, so I went back and I re-added, Podcast Unlocked to my, podcast playlist. And so I was listening to it today. Actually, Lord Cognito was on from the Iron Lords podcast with Ryan McCaffrey and gosh, I can't. Her name's slipping my memory right now. But at any rate, I was kind of listening to it, and they kind of went, the first 20 minutes or so of the show, I was kind of okay with the commentary, because they were admitting to problems that existed within the Xbox camp and mistakes that had been made. And Ryan talked about how he has this he has like a board that is kind of like the OSHA safety things that are in a lot of like factories that say like XX number of days since the last safety incident. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how but for Xbox it's stepping on the rake, and like every once in a while I have to go down and like it's been 33 days since the last time Xbox stepped on the rake, and I have to then reset it to 0, right, because they do something else. So
yeah.
I was like, okay, good. This is an episode where they're actually acknowledging, right, the problems that there are and things. But then a little further into the podcast, there's the commentary started to turn a little bit, and it was kind of a lot of this, fan fiction and conspiracy theory about like, oh, but what if this is the way that Xbox wins? But in and amongst that part of the conversation, there was the mention that he had gone out and bought a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm absolutely certain that he was part of the online voice track that was, very negative about the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah. They said it
You
was
know,
too expensive.
who was it for?
It didn't do it. Yeah, who's asking for this? It
Can
didn't
I? Can I?
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, J-Dub and Logic. I know Logic. We talked about this earlier, but I don't like. I really do have a problem with the who asked for this thing, right?
Yeah.
Because clearly, like companies typically don't make stuff if they don't feel like there's a market for something, right? Now,
So
sometimes the market reacts in a way that says no, we don't want this, right? And there's that mishap. I'm not saying that never happens, but we don't sit there and have these conversations like when I said with the Nike Air Jordans. No one says, "Oh God, who asked for these $200 Nike Air Jordans that are from 1987? Who asked for this? Who asked for the Jordan ones?"
Yep.
Like no one does that.
No.
Maybe some people do, but that's my the mental gymnastics, right? The mental hurdles that people go through, like what Ryan's doing. I'm like, Ryan, you've been covering the industry for 20 something years. You've
Yeah.
seen enough to I would my and I'm sorry, Elijah, I don't mean to hijack the thread here or the conversation. But my point is like Ryan's been in the game for 20 something years, was on, was started off in the original or the what's it called? Official Xbox magazine, OXM, which I subscribe to. We've had Ryan on the show a couple times,
Mhm.
but I don't like Ryan, like you've seen product launches, you've seen how the markets react to certain product launches, and you've saw you've seen pro models, you've seen the GPU space that has high-end GPUs. I mean, like people buy these things, but I'm sorry, I don't mean to that just really
No, you're right. I mean, you're
it
absolutely
just
right.
doesn't make sense to me. Like where else do we do this? And I feel like I just don't feel like these are genuine takes or conversations. I don't know, but I'm sorry, Les, go ahead.
Yeah.
So here's what I think about kind of what's going on in most recent history, and I'll give a pass for the sake of the argument or for the sake of the conversation, right? For stuff that happened, 2023 and earlier. I totally get now, right, with the NVIDIA 5000 series, RTX 5000 series, with the Nintendo Switch 2, with the PlayStation 5 Pro, right? These have been instances where there have been prices that have come out on things that have been, I don't like to use the term unprecedented because usually unprecedented doesn't actually mean unprecedented, and it doesn't even in this case because we had $700 consoles before.
Yep.
But that for a lot of people who are didn't get into gaming until 2000 or later, as is consistently proven in conversations that we have, people, gamers who like to comment a lot on the gaming industry have no knowledge of the gaming industry prior to the year 2000, and that makes it a little problematic. But for many of them, it's the first time they're seeing these prices, and I can get and I can understand how when these prices come out, there's kind of a group gasp right in the room, right? Just like when the Apple Vision Pro price was released at WWDC, right? Everybody kind of flipped out, right?
Logic to your point. You're saying like for new consumers, you could totally, because I think it's a fair point, right? And I'm glad you brought this up because this is the kind of nuance that I think is often lacking when we have these conversations. Like, I don't agree. Like for those who are new, initial sticker shock, right? And I get that. Like I recently, and I know you're going to hate this, Logic, because I'm going to go back to truck tires, but I I reached out to J-Dub. Jay, you remember J-Dub?
Yep.
What kind of tires should I get? But I had that initial sticker shock. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Like $2,000 for a fucking set of tires? Are you shitting me? But as I did more research, I'm like, no, like that's the market.
Understand it.
And people will spend that kind of money on tires because, and that's why Nitto, Toyo, BF Good. That's why they sell those tires.
All those, yeah.
Because the market has accepted. We'll pay those. So I'm sorry, Ledge. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, and so here's my problem, right? So I get it, right? Price drops. It's a surprising price. Big, everybody gasps in the room, right? It's like what was it? It's like Alderaan being blown up in Star Wars. Like a million voices all cry out in unison, right? So I get it.
I just dropped my cane, by the way, when you said that. But go ahead.
So it was kind of funny because I wrote something yesterday besides this. Now I can't even remember what it was that I wrote. Oh, it was about the Napster effect theory. And somebody, I think who's an older gamer, commented on it. I was like, I was just having a conversation with my friends saying that, gaming journalism has gone to the toilet. And then I saw this and I had to share the article out and say that there's hope. And I told him I was very flattered, right? Because I'm not a professional journalist, but that's my motivation for writing this stuff, right, comes from there. And so my problem with kind of the way Ryan behaves and people have behaved when these sticker shock things happen is I'm kind of like, so if everybody else in the room is a normal, right, we kind of expect them to react that way. But if you're a journalist who's seasoned and has been around the industry and has seen this and understands industry history, I would kind of expect in a room for us to be the calm ones, right? To say, hey, we get it. I understand. There's sticker shock. Now let's talk about the industry and the market and where things are, right? And have a very logical, analytical conversation about why, right? Why is the PlayStation 5 Pro $700? Well, because there are these things that have happened, right, in the post supply chain crisis era, because TSMC has raised prices of raw materials and raw components, because there was a dip right in the supply chain, because quite frankly, right, PlayStation is trying to get better in the green, right, with regards to profit margin, and because of where they sit in the market, right, like just like we had the discussion with the Nintendo Switch, like unfortunately, consumers think that price is related primarily to cost, and it is not. And they also feel like commercial companies justify their prices. And this is the conversation we had a few weeks ago. Like, no, commercial corporations do not justify their prices. If you're in government contracting, that's the one place you have to justify your price, right? You have to write ad nauseum documentation, right, about the engineering labor hours associated with building a product and the LCATs that are associated, that it's going to take to build this thing, and like what your hours are going to go to. And if you're under Sarbanes-Oxley, then you have to do all this, track it, blah, 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 right? If you're a commercial company, you don't justify prices, you rationalize them. And so cost is one part, but then you also look at you also do a competitive pricing analysis, right? And you look at other people who are providing similar to products in the market. And then you bounce that against your own, subjective assessment, right, that your marketing guys do, for consumer willingness to pay, right? And out of that, you get the price. Out of that triumvirate, you get the price. And so when you look at the market last fall, right, there's you can easily see the breadcrumb trail by which a bunch of bean counters, right, would have gotten through the calculus that would have resulted in, $700 makes sense. Right, particularly considering that there's not really any competition. Right now, we're sitting in a world where the top tier Xbox, right, actually costs more than the PlayStation 5 Pro. Yeah. So I get into not necessarily arguments, but differences of perspective with people who feel like, Ryan McCaffrey and other people who are in that career track, right, that it's okay for them to react like human beings. And I'm like, no, not really, right? Those people have a mandate, right, for a certain journalistic rubric that they need to meet and how they behave. And when everybody else is flipping out, I kind of expect us, to be the voices of reason in the room, right? Who first and primarily say, if you don't like the price, don't buy it. If the market doesn't like the price or, won't support it, then they won't buy it and the price will come down, as we constantly talk about was the case with the Nintendo and the 3DS. Mm-hmm. And there are other suitable substitutes on the market for some people, but we should also acknowledge the consumers that are in that addressable market for whom there is not a suitable substitute, such as people who are big Nintendo fans, right?
Yeah.
Hey, for $450, you can go buy an Xbox Series S and do blah 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 blah. And you need to understand, if you're supposedly doing market assessments and talking to people as if you're a logical, rational voice in the room, and state to those people, the first thing that person is going to say to you is, okay, but does that thing play Mario Kart, and is it getting the next Zelda? And when you say no, they're going to say, hey, dumbass, why are you talking to me about this other product? Because it's not a suitable substitute for my personal requirements. So I don't know. So anyway, this tweet was all about me kind of calling Ryan and, people like him out on, the I can't think of the word right now, but
Hmm.
the
Well,
the hyperbole of how this topic was covered right at the time that the PlayStation 5 Pro dropped, and a little before when he was talking about who was this for back in March,
yeah.
when again these people say that this doesn't make what this company is doing doesn't make sense, but then turn right around and behave in the exact opposite way that they're talking about.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. Here's the thing we have to understand. Ryan McCaffrey and Destin and the rest of them, right? They worked for a company and they also had a personal benefit, a monetary gain to do that. They get flown out by Microsoft. They get free codes. They get access to, they get all the free hardware from Microsoft. They have a vested interest. Of course they do. Even Digital Foundry and the rest of them, they all have vested interests to keep things close, to make sure that everyone they can write as many articles, they can have as many as what do you call it, as much content as possible. This is how they can say one day, oh, who's asking for this in this product? Nobody's asking for this. And then the next day they turn around and say, well, this product is great if for this person and that person. And and Ron McCaffrey, let's face it, most of these guys, they're already partial to Xbox anyway. They besides having a monetary gain, they keep getting free stuff and get flown out and getting access to the executives and stuff like that. They have big invested interest in that stuff. And not going to say I don't knock them, but you have to understand where they're coming from. That's just it is what it is. You're in a day and age where it's about access. It's about getting the number of followers. There used to be impartial journalists. There used to be publications where it didn't matter. They just called it down the middle because they didn't have a vested interest. But once these corporations start giving them favors, giving them a ton of items, I'll never forget Felicia Day said, Sony doesn't give me anything. They never give me a console. They don't give me the X, Y, and Z. And she said, man, I have a Xbox give me everything. I got like Xboxes in the closet because they constantly send her stuff and do favors and stuff like that. And I still have that clip. It was funny, but it kind of tells you how things are, right? And that's the puzzling part for all the free stuff all the free Game Pass codes, free games, dinners with Phil and Aaron Greenberg, for all of this stuff that they've done, all that money, the what do you call it, Xbox ambassadors, for all that stuff, none of it paid off for Xbox. Xbox is still in worse shape than it ever has. People still don't pretty much buy the console. Whereas Sony don't fly you out, they don't give you free shit, they're not giving you free consoles or anything like that. They kind of basically let the product sell itself, let the game speak for itself and stuff like that. And it just seems for whatever reason, gamers tend to gravitate towards that. So that's the good thing about it, right? Is that yeah, you can give gamers free shit, but gamers are still gonna go where the best games are and where the best hardware is and where they deem value. So that's the great thing about it. Um, but yeah, if you go look for certain publications to be fair, and you're just not going to get that. Especially now that Ziff Davis pretty much owns every gaming publication, including Digital Foundry, right? So do you expect all these publications are owned by one company? Then you expect them to like be partial to in a fair and balanced? No, it's not. It is what it is. But
Yeah,
gamers, we get the last say so, right? No matter how much they say, these guys went out saying, Redfall is great and Xbox Series X and Series S is great. No matter what they say, gamers still ultimately had the choice to make, and they chose not to go that way. So, I mean, at least that tells us gamers have some choice and gamers do make their own decisions. And, as much as, I tune into a lot of pro Xbox channels and I listen to what they have to say and stuff like that. It's just laughable because all the stuff that they say and all the the buttering up that they do to Xbox and all the lies that it's like it's not. Why are you doing this? It's not working. It hasn't bred any dividends for Xbox. So like why even keep trying? Why do you go out and lie for Xbox and everything is great and Game Pass is best value? And again, it's all subjective, right? I'm not saying that they're lying or not. It's subjective. I'm saying none of it has paid off any dividends. And all of those pro Xbox guys are out there buying PS5 Pros right now, right? So
Yeah, so I totally get the causality behind it. I've talked a lot about the, attention-based economy and,
mhm.
how, people say things, for the motivation of monetization. I guess while I understand it, I guess maybe if I go back to BRAP recruiting me onto this podcast, I guess maybe what I've maybe stopped soul searching about or become more convinced of is I guess there's a continuing need to call things like this out because there are topics that people get confused about, right? Like a good for instance is this article that I was talking about that I wrote yesterday, which is there's a lot of suggestion now that the Xbox games were actually great, and that's proven now that they're on PlayStation people are buying them. And I'm like, time out. Hey, that's not in the entirety of what's going on. It's a much more sophisticated and nuanced conversation than that. Like, what you need to understand is that there's a threshold, and those games, I won't say nobody ever said that those games weren't good, but what was definitively said and what the market said was, while those games might be good, right, within some quality band, they're not good enough to warrant me exerting the effort and the money to exit my ecosystem to go obtain those games and obtain access to those games. Oh, but you could just get them in Game Pass and play them over the cloud. Well, lots of us think that the cloud is a shit method for delivery of gameplay when I have literally thousands of dollars of worth of equipment, right?
Yeah.
And why am I going to go do that subpar experience, right? Just to say that I've played something if I don't think that thing is worth it. It's also not worth it for me to go spend an extra $500, right, on a second console just to gain access to that title. And now that title is being delivered at the doorstep of people within the PlayStation ecosystem, sure, they're going to buy it because it's convenient, because they buy games, right? Because that is kind of the normal consumer behavior within the PlayStation ecosystem. They haven't been conditioned to gain access to their games through a subscription service. So if you're gonna, I mean, it's kind of like saying you take I won't say a piece of rotten meat, but you take a steak that is, let's say, just not a filet mignon, right? Not a skirt steak, not a prime slice of beef.
Yeah.
And you throw it in a tiger pen, and then you act surprised that the tigers eat it. Right?
Exactly.
Because it's not filet mignon. I'm like, no, that's not what's happening, right? It's just the Napster effect, right? It was just something that was made super convenient for people who have a normal consumer behavior of playing games, and since they're available, since they're now part of the supply, they're being consumed. Shouldn't be surprising, but also let's not run this fishing line out to international waters, right? And say that this is PlayStation approval of critical acclaim of those games, right? Like I don't, I'm not sure exactly what the sales numbers on those games are going to be, but I haven't checked the PlayStation blog because I don't read the PlayStation blog anymore. I don't know that I've heard, they do this thing where they have the community vote on like the game of the month. So I haven't heard of these games being voted right by that player base as game of the month. So again, I wouldn't, I wrote the thing to tamp down the notion that, there's some, this Trojan horse suggestion that I think one of the members of ILP suggested is going on, and the this is Xbox winning because the games are. I'm like, no, guys, that's what's going on. Let's not misinform people into believing that.
Well, we do know that's them coping. Them coming up with that's a way for them to cope. One thing about it, these guys don't die hard. These guys are taking this to the death, to the very end. They're gonna keep it on. First it was, Xbox was the best value, the most powerful hardware. had the best CPU, the best GPU, the most T flops, best games, yada yada yada. Then over time that started to change, and then it became, well, Game Pass is the best service, blah blah blah. And it's like the narrative is always going to change. It doesn't matter. And I understand what you do, and I praise you for actually going out and trying to explain the reality of stuff, because we live in a time where very few people do that. And me on the other side, I just troll. I call it is what it is. Hey, listen, your console shit, your games are shit. Nobody wants to buy it. It is what it is. Deal with it. And and yeah, they rebuttal me. And of course I'm tongue in cheek when I say that, but gamers speak, right? Gamers speak with their wallets. And with having the world's most powerful console in 2020, with supposedly having the best games, and the best service and the best value and everything else you try to say, gamers went the other way. And at the end of the day, like, that's all that matters. You can tell these people to the blue in the face that Game Pass is the best service, and the Series S is the best value because of the price and all kind of stuff. But why didn't people partake? Until you can explain that, until you just look at it in the mirror and just say, listen, man, gamers have spoken. It could be the most powerful console. It could be the so-called best games and the best value. But if gamers collectively don't go out and buy and support that, does it even matter? No, it really doesn't. The consumer since the 80s,
Mhm.
late 70s, have went out and bought video games based on what their perceived perception of something, and what they deem is valuable. Right now, the Switch 2 is going to come out at $499, $450 with 80 and $90 games. A lot of gamers are going to go out. Their perceived value is that it's worth it. Their perceived notion is, hey, I want that. They have the best games. That's the best, whatever. And they're going to spend money on that. Whereas they said, I'm going to bypass Xbox. And a lot of gamers bypass Xbox and went to PlayStation. And now they have a PlayStation, and now some of those games are coming over to PlayStation. And we're like, hey, listen, why not go and spend $40 and $50 or $60 and get Forza and try that out? It's better than me spending $500.
Mm-hmm. That's
Hey,
funny. It's
that's just what it is.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that. I'd rather spend, I think you said $50 than spending 500.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think logic. That's something either you just brought up or we talked about earlier. That's kind of the point. Like it's not I don't know why they're a Trojan horse. That is just, I mean, that's not what's happening here. Like
Yeah.
and the need to validate the worth of Xbox first party title. Like, why? If you like those games and they're value to you and they're good, why does the rest of that, why does it matter that they're doing well on PlayStation? And then if you're going to talk about why they're doing good on PlayStation, it probably has to do with the fact that, yeah, like these games weren't available, but there wasn't demand enough for people, and not everyone, because there are people that own multiple platforms. I'm not saying everyone, but there wasn't enough demand for people to go out and, like you said, J-Dub, and what you said, Logic, is to go out and spend $500 on an ecosystem that they may not even be tied to, or have any investment in. And so now that those games are available, they're like, oh, wait a minute, like now, yeah, okay, now I can actually go out and get Forza if I want. I don't have to spend $500. That $500 is that $500 is that barrier of entry for a lot of people, right?
Yep.
Say a lot of for people. And I do think that's why Microsoft is bringing these games on platforms. They're like, wait a minute, Microsoft probably believes, I would imagine, that they have some good games, but people aren't willing to spend that $500 investment up front to access the ecosystem or access those games. And I do think that's why they're bringing all their games to PlayStation. But I want to say this though, Logic. This part with McCaffrey drives me bonkers. One more thought: if the PS5 Pro is real, this is last year that we're reading this, or this is something he posted last year. The PS5 Pro is real. Who's it for? Well, it's for somebody who wants a high-end console experience, Ryan. But what kills me is he's asking who it's for, but answers the question who it's for in his own tweet. He answers his own question. Nobody that hasn't bought a PS5 yet is going to pay $650 for a PS5 Pro. And what percentage of your install base can you get to pay that much for a mid-gen upgrade? Other than psychos like me who want the best GTA 6 box. That's the point, Ryan.
But the other thing, and I missed this when you and I were talking about it earlier today.
Yeah.
But he's also just straight out wrong. Not even from his own, like, talking out of both sides of his mouth and answering his own question. But I just realized that this other line that he tripped across. He's saying nobody that hasn't bought a PS5 yet is going to pay $650 plus for a PS5. That's absolutely incorrect. There are lots of consumers who deliberately don't upgrade at the beginning of the generation because what they say is, I don't see the games that justify the cost for this upgrade yet, right? It's early.
Absolutely.
The best games are going to come out on the back half of the generation, and they wait. Yeah. And they stay, and they're on their PS4, right? They're probably there's probably a good chance that they're on a PS4 Pro because they did the exact same thing last generation.
Well, and let's face it, most of them play the same games. They're playing Roblox, Fortnite, Apex Legends, all the free-to-play games or COD or something like that. So they technically don't really have a reason to upgrade because of the type of games they play.
Yeah. And they're the exact type of consumer who, as long as they know, right, what the price is of the thing, they're just gonna resolve, okay, that's how much the thing is that I want, and I still want it. And I was been planning on doing a mid life cycle upgrade, a mid-generation upgrade. So that's when I'm going to go buy my PS5 Pro. It's so much of the conversation around the PS5 Pro was just again in an effort to
persuade people.
Yeah, and to trade on the sensationalism.
Yeah,
which is a grotesque misunderstanding and just misstatement of the market and how the market works. Right. In terms of like not rocket science level understanding of consumerism, like it should be a patently understood, obvious thing that there are tons of consumers who upgrade mid generation. And that wasn't even, even before the notion of pros and mid life cycle upgrades for consoles, were a thing. There have always been plenty of people who upgraded mid generation and didn't upgrade right at the start, who stayed on their older thing until there became enough of a bow wave of games, right? Both that had been released at the beginning of the generation. Even the Podcast Unlock guys talked about it today. I just had her name in my head, but I forgot it again. The third co-host is her last name's Sanchez, and I can't remember the first name again. But they said the same thing themselves. When a lot of these people wait to upgrade mid-gen, right? Because a lot of the early games that came out, which they might feel like, weren't taking the best advantage of the new console hardware because developers learn over time. Lots of those games will now be discounted, right? So they buy their next gen box, they buy a handful of those early generation games at a discount, $20, $25, $30, whatever. They initially have more new games to play that they haven't played yet. And then the console itself is hitting its stride, right? And things like a GTA 6, right? Or Ghosts of Yotei, right? Are coming along that really take the advantage of the hardware that they feel they were really holding back for.
Yeah, it's just
totally agree.
Yeah,
I mean, that's literally what it is.
Yeah. There's something else that he said. I can't find it. I just took the tweet down.
Oh, Brad, did you get that super chat? Sorry.
No, I did not actually. Let me grab that real quick. Anonymous Boss with a $5 super chat says, "What's good, BRAP, JW, Logic, and chat? How's little Timmy supposed to get the $740 Series X for Christmas? It's like you don't care about little Timmy."
Satya does not care about little Timmy.
He does how you design. But you know what? That's actually here's what I find fascinating with this whole increase. They're already struggling to sell Xboxes. I mean,
yeah,
I can't imagine that this is, in my opinion, I don't think this is going to help them sell Xboxes at all. I think this is going to further hurt that.
They've given up already. They know that.
I just don't. I don't understand. I don't understand I was thinking about this. I'm like, why do they? I understand maybe tariff related, whatever. I get it. It just I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So I floated a theory by Falky today and asked him to check my homework. I don't have his complete buy-in. He's got one little detail, which is an important detail that he hasn't bought off on. But I feel like I need to talk to him in person, right, to really sell my theory. But my theory is Xbox has made a lot of low cost, right, efforts to stimulate demand, right, since the beginning of this generation. They went with the whole Xbox Series S and brought it in at a very low entry price point, combined with Game Pass. They've done things like work with retail partners, even after the Series S, a few years into the life cycle of the Series S, and have done things to further slash prices. I think the thing has been as low as, I think, $230 through some of their retail partners, and maybe less. So they've done all these efforts to cultivate, right, the person who prioritizes low cost of access. And despite that, they have been unsuccessful in stimulating demand, right? And that's usually like basic law of supply and demand. If demand isn't where you need it to be, you lower the price, you stimulate demand, you get more people in the pool, and then maybe later you can increase price back to where you were. Now you have these potential tariffs coming along. And so, and oh, by the way, all this time, Xbox is losing money on the sale of each unit, right? So they're at a point in the life cycle now where they really desperately need to stimulate demand by lowering price, but that doesn't necessarily make sense for them, right? And so what I'm describing is this whole Kobayashi Maru scenario. Now you have these tariffs come along, and if you let the tariffs hit, and you raise prices a little, right? Or you do some of the tactical things that you do when tariffs come along. You work with retail partners to figure out, I'm going to take a little bit of the hit, you're going to take a little bit of the hit, and then we're going to pass a little bit of the hit off to the consumer, right? So they're not going to pay for all of the tariff costs. We're going to split it 3 ways, right? Or whatever. You do these strategies, right? But if you do that, you're, again, still not going to stimulate demand. And now you're going to be taking even more of a loss per unit. So I speculate if the tactic was, well, let's raise prices a lot, right? To the point where, right, in the face of dwindling demand, now we're at the point where we're over the PlayStation 5. Like, literally no one's going to buy this thing. And so I wonder if part of the effort is we already know this, there's no way for this not to be bad. Let's make it as not bad, as least bad as we possibly can. And the way to do that may be to raise prices enough to actually suppress demand to the point where you can take the unsold inventory and take it as a tax write-down.
Well,
so that's where Falky comes into play. that tax write-off, then, right? Yeah, go ahead, Lodge.
I will say my theory, right? My theory is we tried to sell these consoles. We came in at the cheapest price. We came in at the most powerful console. We came in with a kick-ass service that included all these games. And gamers collectively didn't partake in either 3 of those particular avenues that we created. What we're going to do, we're going to make some money by putting all of our games on other people's platform until we figure out how to exit out of this console market. And therefore, they do not care. You don't think they know that that console, their consoles are more expensive than the world's most powerful console? They don't, they know what they're doing. And I think this is just yet another reason, another avenue for them to be like, I just think this is a way for them to exit. And when I say exit, I'm not mean getting out of gaming, period. I'm just saying from the console. Think about it. They probably would spend a couple of $1 billion in R&D for these consoles, and then After you spend all that money on R&D, you have to, do all the marketing and all this crap just for gamers to not care and not go out and buy in any collective number, right? I think PlayStation is like double, if not triple, for what they've sold right now, and they're getting outsold by their original console and their previous consoles. I mean, I don't know. They've tried. Their strategy was, we're going to take the high and the low. We're going to corner the market, and gamers are like, we don't care. That says something, right? Even Game Pass, right? Call it the best value in gaming. Okay. Microsoft themselves said that they were supposed to be at what, 100 million Game Pass subscribers by now, or 50 million, or six some, I
Yeah,
forgot what the leak were, right?
I think it
So
was like 110 million by
yeah,
2027.
dude, they haven't gave us any up-to-date numbers since 30 million, right? So clearly, if they would have been higher, then, because here's the thing about Microsoft, they'll give you numbers when they're positive. They can't wait to go out there and scream numbers when it's positive. When it's negative, that's when they give you those, oh, we had 200 million players, and all kind of unsubstantiated claims that they can, because they know that nobody will be able to find out the true answer anyway. They'll give you these high percentages with no way for you to calculate it yourself, right? It's just, you're just throwing stuff out there. But gamers, we're smarter than that. We see Nintendo will come out and say, hey, we sold 20 million copies of this game. Sony will come out, hey, we sold 75 million consoles. 22 of them was just last year. They'll give you tangibles. The company that won't give you tangibles, that's the company that's not giving you what you want to hear. And it's very misleading. So I mean, we know that, but some people still fall for it. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I'm
but
gonna.
I think their strategy is, hey, listen, now I'm not, maybe 5 years from now, they say, hey, listen, we tried it. And Satya is like, hey, listen, we've tried this, we tried that. We spent freaking $100 billion on this shit. It's not working out. We're going to parse this stuff out, get our money back, and move on with life. And it probably exit gaming completely. Or maybe they're just fine just being the world's largest third party publisher. And maybe they're like, hey, with our games being on Nintendo and PlayStation and PC, that's enough for us to just keep carrying on. But some people, they tend to think that they're going to get a Xbox handheld and a next generation Xbox console in a year or two. I don't see it. It doesn't make business sense to me. Their fortune won't change. It's not like overnight everybody's just going to go out and buy Xbox. Oh, yeah, we didn't love the Xbox Series generation, but we love this one. Like, it's not going to happen. That's not how that works, man. They've lost not just the market share that they had, but they've lost their base. They don't have a base anymore. Their base are playing on PlayStation, and a lot of them went to PC. And it is hard. How are you going to convince those guys to go back? They've pulled out of the Middle East. They've pulled out of parts of a lot of chunk of Brazil. They pulled out of Africa. You're pulling out of these markets completely. And so you mean to tell me you're going to create another console and you're going to try to jump back into those markets? Like, that makes no sense. So I'm just going by what they're showing me, and what they're showing me is a company that's winding down various avenues of gaming.
Yeah, the one thing I will disagree with you, JW, is I do think they do have a base, and I think that the base. I who knows, I forget how many consoles they've sold. I think that's their base.
30, I think it was 33 million. 30,
Yeah, so
30 million. Yeah.
I think that's their base. Look, I don't disagree that if people have left, gone PC, PS5, like I don't disagree with that, but I do think there's a base there. And that 25, 30 million. I think
Sure.
that's that, but I guess what for me what's curious is that
Is that enough
If,
though, Brad?
I mean, it might
Remember,
be. I mean,
they said it. They
maybe
thought they
for
were going to sell.
them, I don't know.
They thought they were going to sell 200. They said it via the leaked emails.
I
They
mean, maybe
thought they
they
were going
may
to sell 200 million
with
consoles last
with
generation.
whatever they do next. They may think that 25, 30 may be enough for them. Whatever it is they release next, they may think, okay, this particular product or this Xbox, this next Xbox, if we get 25, 30 million, that's good. We're good there, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna be if we can get that, we're good. But I guess like what the head scratch for me is, like I said, like you raise the price. Some of this could be tariff related. I do think a lot of this is tariff related, in my opinion. But I also think, like, if you're looking to get out of the hardware business, you don't raise prices, you liquidate. But to your point, Logic, about the tax write-off, maybe that's the play. I don't know. Again, we're just spitballing here. No one's not sure. We're not saying this is what's actually happening. We're just, spitballing about what we think, or trying to understand the reasons behind a significant price, because it is a significant price increase. And it's going to be interesting to see if Sony follows suit. I don't know if they will anytime soon. I do think they will. I expressed that opinion
I
on
know
Twitter.
EA just came out and said they weren't, and I thought, from what I read, Sony said that they weren't going to do anything. So
not right now. I know that they've moved a lot of inventory to the U.S. in anticipation of tariffs. So that may delay. I would imagine that might delay. Who knows? We don't know for sure. That might delay some of that.
If they can hold off until next year, I think that'll be their biggest push forward.
But I'll tell you what,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, tell you what, if they don't raise prices over the next 6 months, they go to holiday. I mean, you got to imagine people who are looking for current gen consoles. I mean, that are looking for a affordable option. I don't see the PS5 was selling well anyway. I think
it's $399 with Astro right now.
Even better now.
Everybody's buying a PS5 and a PS5 Pro right now in anticipation that Sony's going to raise their price. Ryan McCaffrey went out. Destin Ligari went out by a PS5 Pro in anticipation that the prices are going to go up.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I was thinking about Logic brought the same point up when we were talking about it today. That I don't know if you mentioned Destin, but I didn't mention Ryan. Logic, that Ryan bought a PS5 Pro in anticipation of, oh shit, like $700 better than that unknown higher number that could be coming down from Sony at some point because of tariffs. And after that conversation, I was like, damn, I might trade in my PS5 and just cash in.
Yeah.
Before the prices go up. I was already flipping out about the wheels. I was like, wait a minute, these ribs go up $100. Like what? T-Rock says, I bought Pro BRAP. Okay, so T-Rock's got a Pro.
And I mean, in the face of rising GPU prices, I mean, the casino math I've been juggling is, I've been convincing myself that I need to wait, in that, like, in 6 months ish, right, the market will have corrected. In fact, there's suppliers, AIB suppliers now are mentioning that they've been told by NVIDIA to go ahead and start getting the mid-cycle refresh ready on the 5000 series line. A 5070 Super and a 5080 Super, they should go ahead and start getting those ready. And in fact, have mentioned that they've actually had them since last year. That they basically have those same boards with 20 gigabytes of RAM or 24 gigabytes of RAM. So
who asked for that?
Anybody who runs into a bottleneck at 16 gigabytes of VRAM, that's who.
Exactly.
but I mean, I'm doing the mental math and saying, so I'm telling myself in 6 months to the beginning of next year, things will be better. And any notion of buying, a $1,000 GPU is not going to get me the GPU that I don't want, but, prices will have corrected to get me the GPU that I do want. That's a risk and a gamble. And part of what I'm weighing is, should I get a PS5 Pro and basically call that my GPU upgrade? right, and then push off my PC gaming GPU upgrade, right, for another 6 months until, like, 3/4 of the way into 2026. So, I mean, all of these rising prices are causing people to have to make, choices, decisions, and weigh where their gambles are and where they're placing their bets. So,
Well, another gamble with going with PC is the fact, like you said, listen, GTA 6 is not going to be on PC for maybe a year, 2 years. Um, some of these other games that are coming out next year, it's crazy, crazy. But we got potentially Interstellar. Um, what other game that they pushed to 2026? It's a bunch of games that they announced that's going to 2026. So this is that time, this year and next year, the time where these consoles are hitting their stride, and those games are looking good, and those games are running good, and those games is just it's the peak for the generation. The next couple of years, it's just the peak, and you want to make sure that you're there because there's no guarantee that those games are going to come to PC day one. And another thing, we know a lot of these ports on PC come out stuttering and janky and broken and stuff like that. Um, so I don't know. I think that's what a lot of people kind of win at that same option that you have. It's like, hey, do I do this? Do I do that? Which direction I go? GameStop is giving me X amount of dollars on my trade in. You know, hey, by the time you pull a trigger on a 50 series card, now you're looking at 60 series. I think I posted something on Twitter to the effect of, hey, listen, by the time GTA 6 come to PC, like the 70 series is going to be out. Now imagine if you just pulled the trigger on a 50 series. Now, you're gonna have to upgrade your video card before you get to play GTA 6, there's always something else coming out,
Yeah, we were talking about Death Stranding 2 earlier, J-Dub, and I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
Father's Day is coming up next month.
Dude. Yep.
Death Stranding 2 is coming out.
Can you imagine 1 month before that game drops? That's crazy.
I mean, I know some media outlets have got a chance to play about 30 hours of the game on the base PS5. Said it looks described as a game having almost having photorealistic graphics.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine how that's going to play on PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I might have. I don't know. I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah.
Especially with the idea of, the potential increase in price.
Yeah.
BRAP,
if Sony raised that price to the same level as what Microsoft did, think about it. Microsoft raised price on their consoles about $100, $130, something like that. Because the series right now is $600, right? Launch price was $500. The Series S is what, 370, basically $400. But right now you can get a PS5 Slim with Astrobot for $399, for $400. So it's almost to the point where I just may go and buy another Slim or maybe another Pro just in case prices go up. Maybe I can make a few bucks on it. Maybe I can sell it to Enrique. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I'll give you $100 discount. Here you go, man.
Hey, I know you. I think you got Mooch a pretty good deal on the GPU, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh yeah. I always take care of my boys, man.
Yeah. All right. I do want to go switch gears here. You like that, right?
Gears.
I want to switch gears here. So I got to be honest with you, if you had told me I don't know, back in, I forget when Gears of War came out, 2005, 2006, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd have told me back then that Gears of War would be on the PlayStation, I would have laughed at you and said, you're absolutely crazy. It's never going to happen. And fast forward, 20 something years later, almost 20 years later, here we are. And and I was thinking about this today too. I'm like, geez, I'm just thinking about like the business meeting, right?
Yeah.
And how it was just 4 games and don't get accustomed to this. And I'm like, no, like, and when they say that, I'm like, I'm not buying what you're selling.
Yeah.
But here we are. Remaster of the original Gears is on the way. It's coming to Gears of War Reloaded remaster coming to PS5, Xbox, and PC this August.
Yep. August 28, I believe.
26, $40.
26. Yep.
Gears of War, which if you Gears,
One
Gears
of the big
made,
three. One of the big
Gears,
three.
Yeah, Gears. By the way, for me at least, and for many of the people the circles that I was running with at the time, you got to remember, for those who don't know, I was an Xbox Live beta tester. So for us, like, seeing like games like Halo 2, Mech Assault, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, and then Gears. Like Gears made us forget about some of those games, like Halo. Like Gears was like, holy shit! Like they are just. I remember at the time we were like, this is incredible. Like, I used to dabble in the console wars. Like, you can't get this on PlayStation. They're stuck in the past. You got you hooked up to a 56K modem.
Yep.
And here we are enjoying, at 30 to 360 they did, but my point is, like, we were like, they are ahead. They are Microsoft. Xbox is ahead of PlayStation right now in terms of features, the future, those kinds of things, right? And then Gears comes out in the 360, and Gears was just like, wow, this is Gears for us was just like the Xbox 360s was the Halo for the Xbox 360, right? Yeah. It was that big of a deal, that big of a franchise that they had Gears of War. It was one of the reasons why many people I know went out and bought an Xbox 360 to play Gears of War. So, and now, and I was just thinking about the February business update last year, and then don't get used to this, 4 games, just 4 games. And I remember having this conversation, I think maybe with Lord Cognito, like, just rip the Band-Aid off. Like, we know it's more than 4, because there were rumors about that, yeah, this is actually more than 4. Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation. Starfield will eventually come to PlayStation. Halo. I think Halo's next. I've heard Halo's next.
Well, you saw the clip of the guy playing Forza Horizon 5 on his PlayStation and tuning into, I think, a radio station, and the Halo theme was playing.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that, but I've heard a rumor.
Starfield and Flight Simulator next. That's what I think. That's my guess.
Flight Simulator is a weird one for me to put on PlayStation. And I just wonder, and I'm not saying like I would never do that, or it doesn't make sense, or I just
who asked for that?
I really wonder I'm looking to see, did they put Age of Empires 2 on PlayStation?
Yes, Age of Empire and Age of Mythology.
Yeah, those are 2 other ones that I don't get, and I've never understood their whole thing. Oh, we see lots of uptake of Age of Empire 2 on console.
I bought them day one. I'm playing
really.
Day one. Yes,
and you play it with controller?
Yes, absolutely.
But if I allow myself to just get past the notion that that's just sacrilegious at its base.
No. To be fair, I'm an Age of Mythology and an Age of Empire player back on PC when they first debuted. Yeah. So I'm that fan, but I'm playing it on my PS5 Pro. They look great. They run great. Obviously, right? It's almost sacrilegious to see people playing a RTS with a controller, but they made it work. It plays very well.
They made it work with Halo Wars. So I like
Yeah,
for me, like
absolutely.
I'm not surprised they took those games just off the success of Halo Wars.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
They were
Halo
able to.
Wars was built from the ground up to use with
No,
controller.
Yeah.
I know it was. No, that's
But
a fair
it,
point,
it works. And here's the thing.
but it works though.
Don't forget, you can always plug up your keyboard and mouse because PlayStation supports keyboard and mouse. Not saying I would do that. It's like, dude, the controls are mapped on it just fine.
Yeah, and the keyboard, like if I played it on console, that's how I would play it, right? I would break up my keyboard and mouse. I played Call of Duty on PlayStation with on PlayStation 5 with mouse and keyboard. So
You should just give it a try. You should just give it a try. At least one of those games. They're only like $30. So just give it a try, and you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. I thought the same thing, but hey, listen, they spent all this money to port this stuff over. I'm going to support them. I'm going to support them doing what they do, and I supported them, and I've been pleasantly surprised so far. All of the games that they ported over to PlayStation, man, they just run so good. The 3D audio, the DualSense haptic feedback on it, it's like they really enabled a lot, and so I think that's why you're finding out gamers are really partaking in this.
yeah,
Even Indiana, stuff like Indiana Jones, people just partake in. It's just.
yeah, I mean that's good to hear. I mean, I wanted to hear your take on it. I mean, I can't try them out because I don't have a PlayStation 5 anymore.
Yeah.
But and I have Age of Mythology. I have Age of Mythology on PC. And I've just never been a fan of Age of Empires.
I mean, if you're a PC gamer, then obviously you have it there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out and buy a PlayStation to play it, but if you
No,
have a
no, yeah.
PlayStation, $30, why not? And that option is there for me, and I was like, well, shit, you know what? Yeah, I played Forza Horizon on my on the PC and stuff like that. Now I got on my PlayStation.
Yeah, no, it's very cool that the platform is flexible enough, and Xbox is doing a good enough job bringing those over. What is it? How did they say? Bender of Strings in the chat says Ori. It'll be low hanging fruit. My question on Ori is, I don't know that they could do Ori because I mean, they would. I guess they would have to. They would probably want to contract Moon Studios to do that, and I don't think Moon Studios would be open to doing that since they're doing No Rest for the Wicked right now, and that is their focus.
That's not fully released yet, is it? Is that still in like
no? It's an early access. Yeah. But I mean, as far as I can tell, they're. I mean, it's a massive undertaking, and their entire studio is working on it. So I don't know where they would have the bandwidth to port Ori to PlayStation 5, or if they would want to do that. I mean, I guess Xbox has enough studios now; they could have somebody else take it on. I just don't know if they would do that.
They got Toys for Bob. Oh wait, no, they don't. Never mind.
Although Toys for Bob made an arrangement with them, right? That to date hasn't bore any fruit, as far as I can tell, because I haven't heard that Xbox has actually gone to them to have them do contract for hire work. But it sure seems like having them do contract for hire work to port Ori to PlayStation 5 would seem to be a project that fit right within their skill envelope. But I don't know.
Yeah, I just you brought this up earlier, Logic. I know you mentioned Slomo talked about this on DPS last night, that what was it? That none of this, like, that even though they said, like, it's for, don't get used to this, that the wheels were already in motion for more games to go across platforms.
Way back in the fact that he made that statement, and we found out because Rare did this, almost a documentary, right? This little video, whatever. They were so excited talking about how they were in that secret room with the frosted glass and back in 2020. And then we started doing the math, and I was like, wait, if you guys started working on this game in 2020, that's when this generation started in 2020. That means Microsoft and Sony had to have signed some contracts to say, okay, you're going to start porting games to our platform, sign these contracts, here's the NDAs, here's our dev kits, blah, 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 blah. The motions had to start before 20. It's not like you just wake up today and say, hey, BRAP, Hey, I want to make games for you. Okay, here's the contracts. We're done. No, that stuff, those discussions had to start prior to that. And so, I can only assume the whole ABK fiasco between Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer and all those guys was it was just for publicity. It was just for the public eye to make it seem like, but Jim Ryan, the one that got them to sign the contracts to be able to give them dev kits to be able to start porting this stuff and working with the stuff, right? I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, am I just kind of making this up out of thin air?
No, I mean they would definitely have had to have the SDKs and have signed all the documentation and have been assigned an account rep and all that.
Absolutely.
And those discussions would have had to be had. It's what's
So
really
yes.
weird in
So
terms of
that
wondering.
means so
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
means prior to 2020, Microsoft and Sony had discussions. They came to agreements, and they got the dev kits because they said it. I didn't make this up. We all saw it. Rare said they started this secret thing back in 2020. So, and these consoles launched at the end of 2020, right? In November. So, at worst, they signed the contracts in January, right? Early that year in 2020. But like, come on, we got to assume that Microsoft and Sony, two competing platforms, two competing companies in the space, you know, eventually sat down at a table and hashed some kind of deal where Microsoft could port their games. Because here's the thing: when they did Sea of Thieves, right? It wasn't just like Sea of Thieves was a one off. It was followed by As Dust Fall. It was followed by Grounded. It was followed by by a lot of games that came out. It just wasn't a one off. And then right after that, what? Remember, it's just four. Okay, it's just four. And fast forward 6 7 months, and then it was more, and then it became, yeah, we're gonna do more. Right? It's like this shit doesn't port overnight. It takes time to port this stuff, right? So the wheels were already in motion before. So this was always their plan. This was their plan a while. They thought about this, and they put Satya put this motion in play probably at the ass end of last generation, probably the last year or two of last generation. They made that decision.
Yeah, what's weird is, yeah, and I don't disagree with the logic, and Slomo and I have talked about, similar stuff. What's weird, and I would love to eventually find out about when maybe Phil Spencer writes his memoir or something, is the things Jim Ryan chose to weaponize and the things that he didn't. Like, I wonder what the deal was around that stuff that caused no one to talk about it during the hearing, but then to talk about other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could have said, I mean, Jim Ryan could have definitely said, like, in as part of the hearing, right, to sway the judge and the court and stuff to the direction of PlayStation, was to say, well, Xbox is planning on putting more and more of their titles on PlayStation, right? So,
yeah,
should there really be a need to allow them to go through with this level of acquisition? That's definitely a question that could have been put in the air. But I think, as you've put that all together, is that would probably be, I mean, I always assume, I mean, these companies are always spying on each other. So I just assume it was a matter of corporate espionage, what we politely call business intelligence. Just so people understand, when we say business intelligence, it often means corporate espionage.
Yeah, people know when people talk. People talk.
Yeah, people go to trade shows, people shadow people listen over people's shoulder. But I mean, that could have been how he became aware of when Xbox was talking about releasing their next console, because he revealed that in either a trial or in a public statement, and then Spencer was acting all mad. He was like, "Well, I didn't know that we were gonna, release information about what conversations I thought were private." Right? So no, it's just curious. Like I said,
Microsoft themselves accidentally uploaded their files. It should have been to the courthouse or whatever, but it should have been they uploaded it to the wrong place, and
Yeah,
that's why the emails and stuff became public, and that's how we found out, about a lot of stuff.
yeah, when they
Yeah.
when they did the upload that had their roadmap in it, that was after
Yes.
Ryan had made the comment that we suspect that Xbox is going to release their next console in 2027
Yeah.
or whatever, and then Phil turned around at his next deposition or whatever and said, revealed things that they thought they knew about the PlayStation roadmap. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just all curious.
Yeah. I think, at the end of the day, um, the decision was made far in advance on where things were gonna go. Satya was probably like, "Listen, man, let's we're either gonna exit this shit or we're gonna do. We need a game plan to exit this stuff." And he tasked Phil Spencer in doing it. And obviously, in the meantime, they still have to maintain not just public face, but they had to maintain revenues coming in and stuff like that. But remember when Phil did that interview, you could tell he was flustered and he looked like he hadn't slept. His hair was all over the place when he just said, "Listen, we just cannot compete with PlayStation and Nintendo." And he said that they just make it hard to do what we do and stuff like that. And he was just honest. I know people didn't want to hear him say that, and it sound like defeat, which I'm pretty sure he felt defeated. I'm pretty sure he got tired of people messaging him and asking him all of these fucking questions, and he was like, "You guys just leave me alone." And at that time, I really I said that's the Phil Spencer I like, the honest guy. Just give it to the people straight, right? Don't I hate the lying feel that he gives you hope about something knowing that the opposite is happening. For him to come out and say it's just 4 games, it wasn't. You knew that before that even came out of your mouth. You had already had 10, 15 games already in the works. Like, let's stop it. The whole and the question that they asked him was it Starfield that's coming? He was like, no, Starfield is not, it's not one of one of the four. And basically, in so many words, he was right. It wasn't one of the four, but he knows it was coming, and he knew the question that they were asking. Like, just give the people the honest truth, and let the chips fall where they may. Even all these games on PlayStation, all these Xbox games on PlayStation right now. Is that stopping Colt Eastwood and the rest of those guys from out there defending Xbox? Absolutely not. So why lie?
Well,
Just
I
be
mean,
honest. Those guys are still
yeah,
gonna, those style guys are still gonna bleed green. It doesn't matter.
yeah. Well, I mean, those guys are in the entertainment business. I mean, look, I think what's
And
interesting,
Brian, and Enrique,
you know,
and think about it. Worst case scenario, they get upset and they go and buy a PlayStation. Well, guess what? They're still going to be your customer because they're still going to buy those Xbox games on that PlayStation. And maybe that's how Satya view it anyway. I think it came out that Forza Horizon 5 within the first couple of weeks or whatever of it being on the market, it sold like 1.5, was it 1.2 or 1.5 million or something like that? Shit, that was more than they it did on Xbox. And these were actual tangible dollars. None of the player stuff, right? None of that. Oh, we got so many players and so many tire marks and so many color changes on cars. It's a tangible number.
it's tire marks. Oh my goodness.
You know how they give
Yeah,
out those goofy things that nobody care about.
yeah.
And guess
Well,
what? The
I
Switch
just
2 dropped. A lot of these games are going to get ported there, and a lot of them are going to get played there.
yeah,
Kudos to them. Kudos to Microsoft for doing it. I'd rather for them to do that than to continue on just limping along, being the laughing stock, just treating Xbox like it's actually kind of sad when I see them treat it the way that they treat it. Like, man, take pride in your stuff. Don't I don't know. It's just me.
Yeah, I think the Gears thing for me at least, like I said, going back to like 2006, and now just fast forwarding to 2025. I just to me the remaster, introducing the franchise to the PlayStation fan base or consumer base, or PlayStation player who's maybe never played Gears. I mean, to me, this to me at least signals that new Gears, any Gears game going forward, new will be on PlayStation as well. Now I'm not saying that's 100% going to happen. I do like it just wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
To see these games, any new iteration or any new Gears game, whether or not that launches day and date, different, I don't know, who knows, but it just wouldn't surprise me to see a new Gears game, or any new Xbox franchise moving forward, release on PlayStation, either day and date or at some point after it releases on the Xbox.
Yeah. It's all going date. There's no reason for them to there's no logical reason for them to stagnate, because the bulk of the money that they're going to make, the majority of the money they're going to make, will be on the Nintendo and the PlayStation platforms. I think the only saving grace for Xbox is, hey, at least you guys get to play it in your subscription service.
Yeah, which look, for those people in the subscription service, it's not a bad thing for them.
Not a bad deal, right? Yeah, that's a that's a what do you call it? A consolation prize. But let's face it. This is what we want to know. For those guys who are the diehard Xbox console fans, not Xbox PC or Xbox PlayStation or Xbox whatever it is they try to say is an Xbox, but we're talking about the console. For those fans that bought that console because they wanted the best place to play and they wanted the best games, those guys, how do those guys, what do those guys do? I think they just need to either accept it and move on, or shout out to my man Crap. Every day, he's out on Twitter telling Phil to uh, quit, resign, and all kind of stuff. It's like, man, it's just too late for that stuff, man. It's too late.
Yeah.
I think there was a point where gamers could make their voices heard, that may have been able to make some changes, or at least made their voices felt. But those days are long gone. Those days are long gone. I think those guys, instead of telling Microsoft what they really wanted and what they didn't want, they just defended everything. And then, hey, Phil kept getting promoted. He kept getting these awards and all of this stuff, even though he had a struggling platform, even though, it's, struggling service and stuff like that. And those guys just ate it up. And then they woke up one day and all their games were on PlayStation. And their console is looking to go the way of the dodo bird. And then, at some point they're gonna have to look in the mirror and say, how did we get here? And then I'm gonna be that guy that go and pulls up all the tweets, all the videos, all the clips, and everything of how those guys tried to defend Redfall. They tried to defend Bleeding Edge and Battletoads and all that stuff, right? Because they fought the whole way defending all of it.
Hey,
And so,
but Riskit wonders if PlayStation has an identity problem, since the biggest game selling over there right now are Xbox.
Are you fucking serious?
yeah, yeah,
That's the dumbest shit I've heard in a long time.
Copism 101.
Like, why? What do you mean identity problem? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like that when PlayStation fan base goes out and buy Ubisoft games, that they have identity problem? Like, what is that? I mean, Xbox third party publisher, or first party studios, excuse me, are a third party publisher now.
Yeah,
it makes zero sense. No different than Ubisoft or EA.
Yeah. And here's the thing, guys. I mean, and I'll just be honest. I have
this was said on Twitter, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to believe that
have,
that's
like,
just engagement for him. I can't believe that
6.
someone actually really believes that.
You be surprised, man. I'll be honest. I don't put
That
anything
is
past those
literally
guys.
the dumbest comment I've heard in a long time. Like, this is it's no different than buying EA games, or if they're third party publisher now.
Yeah, the third party publisher.
And I don't say that to like poke fun at them or to say that's a bad thing. It just
No, it's the
it,
truth.
it's
As a matter
they're
of
the
fact,
business.
Satya was
They're
bragging
the
about
business.
it.
Yeah, they're
Satya
the business
Nadella
of
was
software.
bragging about it.
Nothing
He
wrong with it.
said, we play. He has what, the top 10 games on PlayStation, or the top whatever. I mean, he was bragging about it. So I mean, why would someone feel negative about it when the freaking CEO of the company is bragging about it?
People like that
You
just
know,
shouldn't talk about video games. I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't know.
let it be.
And nothing of
Yeah,
value to the conversation.
The tweet. The tweet.
Oh,
I didn't
man.
actually see the tweet. I mean, when I first saw it, it was somebody had screenshot it. Now I'm looking at the actual tweet itself and realizing it says, "Is
oh my goodness? Oh, it's that bad."
It says, "Is Xbox turning PlayStation into an Xbox? What does that mean for PlayStation's identity?"
The fuck? That's like saying is EA turning PlayStation to an EA box? What are we doing? My good, they're a third party publisher. Xbox, Microsoft is. They're the business to sell you subscription services and software. Mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
well, software for PlayStation, so they'll theoretically never have Game Pass on their PlayStation platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't get this obsession with trying to get a win. Guys, it's just a fucking business model. It's the model they chose to, it's the model they've chosen to go with, they being Microsoft, because they want to make more money because they weren't successful at what they were doing. So they made a pivot and they're selling software on PlayStation now. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. This is just I knew it was bad when you started laughing, Logic.
Yeah, because I didn't really read it verbatim when I just had seen somebody screen capture it and kind of responding to it, but yeah, I didn't realize the formulation of the question was actually just as bad.
Look at what Bender Strings just said here. Oh my god.
No, yeah.
Oh my god. That's pretty funny. I mean, yeah, like it's not like some kind of flex. Like what? Like what are we doing? Oh my god, I can't. All right. It's let's see, it's 11:15. Look, I don't know about you guys. I want to, well, I know you finished it, Logic, but I want to go play some Expedition 33 before I go to bed.
No, absolutely. That's what I'm about to do.
I want to get some gaming in tonight because I'm fighting the Paintress right now, and I need to beat the Paintress tonight. And Logic, I really want to beat this game so we can have a conversation about it because I know your patience is run thin with the Souls fans who want to fight every boss.
Yeah, it's been incredibly painful. Man, I can't even tell you how painful it's been without feeling like I'm going to spoil. So it's been incredibly painful listening to you, and your thoughts on what you think of the pieces of the story that you know right now.
And you're probably like, little does he know.
yeah.
I mean, no, I get it, and it's funny. I was in what's the name of the city they're from? Is it Lumiere?
Lumiere, yeah.
Lumiere, yeah. So I go to Lumiere, and of course I could take the direct path to the Paintress, right? But I don't do that. Of course I don't do that because I want to go and fight every enemy that I see on screen. And not only that, I want to go back to the flag, right? Hit the rest button so that the enemies I just beat reappear, just like they do with Souls games. Because I want to see if I can go and I want to see if I can get a perfect battle encounter. no damage. I just can't play the game like, just beat the enemies and just make my way through the pages. No, I got to go back. So, but I love it's a great game. Having a blast. So good. So good. Although, if you've read a book or watched another movie or played any other video game, it's nothing special, I guess.
Yeah, it's not innovative.
Yeah. Shit, I just spilled mustard on my tie. All right. On that note, you go ahead and wrap up the show. But unless Logic, there's anything or JW you guys want to discuss before we wrap up?
Nope, I didn't have anything else. Nope. It's double XP weekend on Call of Duty, so I'm ready to get out of here too.
Let's get to some gaming.
I'm ready to get thank you, JW. Exactly. Let's get to some gaming. So JW, you still got those like impressive racing setups, like the freaking steering wheel, cockpit, and everything.
I do, man. Sim racing. I have like 4 of them. One WRC rally, one GT, one Formula One, and one flight simulator. Yeah.
Jeez, man. Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of what you had. I wasn't sure if you still had it. It's impressive. That's very impressive setup, man.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. A different level.
Yeah, I do it, man. I race in the set of course of competition. R Factor, and a few other sims that I try to do competitively.
Hey, Jay, have you played Automobilista? Too?
Yeah, too. Yeah, that's one of my mains.
Okay, yeah, that's one that was a blind spot for me, and I've wish listed it recently on Steam, so I'm looking at picking it up pretty soon.
Yeah. There's also a set of course Evo, which is in
that's right. It released in early access. Right, yeah.
Yeah, and they just came out with another update, gave you some more cars and some more features and stuff like that. And
that's a good reminder.
Yeah, and a lot of these things are being they're coming to consoles as well. So
yeah, F1 out at the end of this month.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's like an annual, but
yeah.
But that's 8K 60 on the PS5 Pro for last year's for F1 2024. Great game, looks freaking bananas. So obviously I'm gonna be getting Formula One 2025 as well. But yeah, but that and obviously Gran Turismo 7. Yeah, those are my my roundabouts.
Nice, man. Well, gentlemen, well, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Do the YouTube thing. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. I want to thank our guest J-Dub for joining us. J-Dub, always a pleasure.
Definitely
for jumping on, man. Really appreciate it. I don't know if you want to be found. If you do, let everyone know they can find you.
You guys find me on Twitter at JDubCity16, man. Or if you guys want to go check out my YouTube channel, it's JDub for you on YouTube.
No doubt, J-Dub. All right, then Game Logic, always a pleasure, sir. Love the Miyamoto profile pic. That's great, man.
Legendary.
Got a rep for $80 games.
Oh, man.
$90.
Jeez. Logic, I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let everyone know they can find you.
Yeah, you can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, and I think after 2 years of constantly going back and forth and in hitches and starts, I think I'm getting back to posting gaming videos on my channel on Rounding Off Infinity. So I've posted 3 this week, including 1 live stream of my replay of Doom Eternal. Thoroughly being reminded of how much I said I hated that game and I'd never play it again. But yet here I am. So, but yeah, I'm going to be trying to get back on the production horse and put out some gaming videos every week. So feel free to check that out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. Also, real quick programming note: no BRAP next Friday. Need to figure out what day of the week next week I could do a BRAP, but no BRAP next Friday because I have a scheduling conflict. But I don't know. Just give me a follow on Twitter or X BRAP_podcast. I always post like show updates there. So, and then if you subscribe to the channel, you get the bell notifications when we have live shows, things like that, things scheduled. So, anyhow, everyone enjoy the weekend. Happy Mother's Day, by the way, to all the mothers out there. Mother's Day is this Sunday. So, and everyone have a great weekend, and hope you have some fun playing video games as well, because that's ultimately what it's all about. On that note, we'll catch you next time. Thank you again for watching.